While the entire world is watching missiles fly between Iran and Israel, Russia just moved warships into firing positions in the Barents Sea and issued a live fire exercise warning effective March 11th through 13th. The same 72-hour window in which a French NATO soldier was killed by an Iranian drone in Iraq, an Italian NATO base was struck in Erbil, and the United States lost its fourth aircraft of this war. Russia is conducting missile firing drills in waters directly adjacent to NATO's northern border at the exact moment NATO members are taking casualties in the Middle East for the first time. That is not a coincidence. That is a message. Let me show you exactly what Russia is doing and why the timing tells you everything. Russia's Northern Fleet, its most powerful naval formation, operates out of Severomorsk on the Kola Peninsula. This fleet controls Russia's sea-based nuclear deterrent. Its submarines carry intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching any city in North America or Europe within 30 minutes. When this fleet conducts exercises, every NATO navy from Norway to the United Kingdom to the United States tracks every vessel, every submarine, every signal. The Northern Fleet announced missile firing exercises in the Barents Sea, active from March 11th to March 13th. Those dates are not random. March 11th is the day Hezbollah fired 200 rockets into Israel in coordination with an Iranian ballistic missile barrage. March 12th is the day Saudi Arabia intercepted nearly 50 Iranian drones. March 13th, today, is the day Iran's new supreme leader issued his first public demand for all U.S. bases in the region to close. Russia scheduled live-fire naval exercises to overlap perfectly with the most intense 72 hours of the Iran war so far, and those exercises are happening in waters that sit directly beside NATO's cold response military exercise in Scandinavia. 2 military drills. 2 opposing alliances. Same waters. Same week. Same escalation cycle. Now here's the part that makes this genuinely dangerous. U.S. officials speaking anonymously have confirmed that Russia is providing Iran with intelligence on American military positions. Not weapons, not troops. Intelligence. Satellite imagery, electronic signals data, information about where U.S. forces are deployed, how they move, and when they are vulnerable. If those reports are accurate, Russian intelligence is being used to plan attacks that have already killed 7 American soldiers and destroyed 4 U.S. aircraft. Russia is not pulling any trigger, but Russian data may be telling Iran exactly where to aim. The Kremlin has not confirmed or denied these reports. What Moscow has said publicly is that this war has caused a significant increase in demand for Russian energy products, and that statement reveals the economic dimension of Russia's involvement. Before Operation Epic Fury began on February 28th, oil traded at approximately $65 per barrel. Today, 13 days later, oil has surged past $100 per barrel. The International Energy Agency has declared this the largest supply disruption in oil market history. 21% of the world's daily oil supply transits the Strait of Hormuz. That strait is now effectively closed. Iranian mines sit in the waterway. Iranian fast attack boats fire on commercial vessels. Iraq has suspended all oil terminal operations after Iranian forces set 2 tankers on fire off its coast. Every barrel that cannot leave the Persian Gulf makes Russian oil more valuable. Every day the Strait of Hormuz stays closed puts billions of dollars into Russian state revenue. Russia does not need this war to end. Russia needs this war to continue. Every week of conflict transfers market share and pricing power from Middle Eastern producers to Russian exporters. The financial incentive for Moscow to prolong this conflict is not theoretical. It is measurable in billions of dollars per week. And while that money flows into Russian accounts, Russian warships are firing missiles in the Barents Sea to remind NATO that its northern flank is exposed while its forces are occupied in the Middle East. This is the strategic trap. NATO is now engaged on 2 fronts without having made a decision to fight on either one. In the Middle East, a French soldier is dead. 6 French soldiers were wounded in a drone strike at Malakara in Iraqi Kurdistan. President Macron confirmed the death today, making this the first NATO combat fatality of the Iran war. On the same day, an Iranian drone struck a military vehicle at an Italian base in Erbil. France and Italy, 2 founding NATO members, both took direct Iranian fire on the same day in Iraq. Article 5 of the NATO Charter says an attack on one member is an attack on all. France has not invoked Article 5. Italy has not invoked Article 5. But both countries now have soldiers who were attacked by Iranian-linked forces, and every NATO defense ministry is running calculations on what happens when the next attack kills 10 soldiers instead of 1. While NATO processes these Middle Eastern casualties, Russia puts warships to sea in the Arctic. The signal is unmistakable. You are stretched thin. Your attention is divided. Your forces are committed thousands of kilometers from your northern border. And we are right here, firing missiles, reminding you that the Arctic has not gone away just because Iran is on fire. At the UN Security Council today, Russia accused the United States of betraying Iran's diplomatic good faith. Moscow's ambassador argued that Iran had been engaged in legitimate diplomatic channels and that Washington launched a military operation that violated every principle of international negotiation. That statement serves a dual purpose. First, it positions Russia as the defender of diplomatic norms, giving Moscow moral authority in the global south where dozens of countries are watching this war with deep concern. Second, it reinforces Russia's relationship with Tehran at the exact moment Iran needs allies most. Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei needs external support to sustain this fight. Iran is absorbing 6,000 strikes in 13 days. More than 1,200 Iranians are dead. Tehran is being bombed. Cultural heritage sites in Isfahan, buildings that survived 6 centuries of wars, are damaged by American and Israeli munitions. Iran cannot sustain this level of punishment indefinitely without external resupply, intelligence support, and diplomatic backing. Russia provides all three: intelligence on U.S. positions, diplomatic cover at the UN, and the implicit threat that NATO's northern flank remains contested, which prevents NATO from committing fully to the Middle Eastern theater. This is what modern great power competition looks like. Russia does not need to fire a single shot at an American soldier. Russia fires missiles in the Barents Sea, feeds targeting data to Tehran, collects $100 per barrel oil revenue, blocks UN Security Council resolutions, and watches NATO bleed in a Middle Eastern war that makes Russia richer and NATO weaker with every passing day. And NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said today that Europe is supportive of the U.S. attacks on Iran, calling Iran a threat and expressing confidence that the U.S. knows what it is doing. That statement will be tested in the coming days, because supporting a war is easy when your soldiers are alive. It gets harder when flag-draped coffins start arriving at military airports in Paris and Rome. The UK has deployed aircraft in defensive roles in Qatar, Jordan, Iraq, and Cyprus, and is sending an additional naval vessel to defend Cypriot airspace. Britain is not participating in offensive operations, but defensive deployments in 4 countries across an active war zone is not neutrality. It is involvement with a different label. And every British aircraft flying defensive patrols in Iraqi airspace is an aircraft not available for operations in the North Atlantic, where Russian submarines are conducting exercises right now. President Trump lifted sanctions on Russian oil this week. The reasoning was to increase global supply and offset the Hormuz disruption. The practical effect is that Russia now sells its oil freely on global markets at $100 per barrel, while the war Russia is quietly supporting continues to remove Middle Eastern oil from those same markets. Moscow could not have designed a more favorable economic scenario if it had planned this war itself. 3 warship movements, 1 intelligence pipeline, 1 dead NATO soldier, $100 oil, 1 closed strait, and missile exercises in the Barents Sea timed to the hour. Russia is not watching this war. Russia is profiting from it, shaping it, and using it to redraw the global power balance while everyone else stares at Tehran.